Hi, my name's Eddie Brocklesbie and I'm in a really special place for me. I'm in the kitchen of the Cabinet War Rooms, which was my grandmother's kitchen throughout the war. She was his personal cook, and when Phil Reid from the Cabinet War Rooms was creating the kitchen down here about 10 years ago, I think it was, I donated quite a lot of my grandmother's bits and pieces to the kitchen, so that the jelly moulds up there, I can remember making jelly in, the cutters here, the tray that's over there, and some of the knives as well. They were things that I grew up with as a child. She was always incredibly loyal to the Churchill family and admiring of the work, and I've always been very privileged to be invited to some of the events that Phil Reid has had here, some of the commemorative events. And I remember one of them meeting Elizabeth Nell, who'd been his personal secretary. And she said, "Sit down next to me, my dear, and I'm going to tell you about your grandmother." And she did, and it was a level of insight that I hadn't had before. But she described Winston Churchill standing on the balcony with thousands of people on D-Day, or whichever day it was, and actually going back into the room and getting my grandmother and taking her out onto the balcony and saying, "They should be grateful to you too, because you fed me throughout." I started running at about the age of 50, and ever since then it's been really a valuable opportunity for me to, release energy, to feel good, and enables you to get through some of life's crises if you can just go out and have a run and come back and feel better. So I feel quite strongly about the need to get older people into sport. I mean, the research evidence is overwhelming that there's far less incidence of cancer, of type 2 diabetes, of Alzheimer's, or any of the other chronic diseases if you exercise regularly, and particularly perhaps falls, which is costing the country a fortune with older people when they're falling over and breaking bones. So if we can get more people, like I had the opportunity to do over the age of 50, out exercising a bit more, then I feel quite passionately about the need to do that. I have gone out and run 5 marathons since then, and then more recently, about 5 years ago, got into triathlon, and since then it's been a great life. I'm not a good swimmer, as I said, and when somebody came up to me and sort of said, "Well, why didn't I try duathlons?" about 4 or 5 years ago, I did just that, and that's a run, bike, run. And I went across to Switzerland, I think it was, and actually won a world title for my age, which I was a bit surprised. I think it was because it was cold and a lot of the other women withdrew from the race. I'm 66, yes.
Darling, if this isn't love.
I thought very hard about the most interesting person I know, who is Stephanie Ellis. I met her by chance in the small beginners pool of the Queen Mother Sports Centre, where neither of us were that confident about going into the big pool. And I guess we've moved. She was then a senior civil servant. She was also interested in swimming, but I have spent since then many hours in Stephanie's company, and I have never ever been bored, and I think you too will find her a really interesting person.
And would I be sure that this is love beyond compare?